Christmas has a way of changing how people behave. Doors stay unlocked. Lights stay on all night. Strangers don't feel as threatening. There's a shared belief that nothing truly bad will happen on Christmas because it's a night meant for family, for warmth, for peace. But history doesn't respect traditions. And over the years, Christmas has quietly become the backdrop for some of the most disturbing crimes ever recorded. Not because of monsters, not because of curses, but because of people. Tonight's stories are not legends. They aren't exaggerated retellings. They are real events, reported by police, documented by investigators, and remembered by families who never got their normal Christmas back. These are true Christmas horror stories. 1945, 5 children were officially declared dead in a house fire. The problem is, there is no physical evidence that any of them were ever in that fire. There are some nights that never end. They just replay, over and over, in the same place. Christmas Eve, 1945, was one of those nights. Just after 1:30 in the morning, a fire appeared inside a quiet house in Fayetteville, West Virginia. It wasn't a big house by city standards, but it was large for the time. 2 stories, wooden frame, sitting close to the road. The kind of place where light from the windows could be seen for miles at night. Inside were George and Jenny Sauter, and their children. Most of the house was asleep when the fire began. George was the first to realize something was wrong. The smell came before the flames. Thick, bitter, wrong. He woke his wife. He woke the children on the first floor. 4 of them made it outside. The cold air hit them all at once. The kind of cold that burns your lungs when you breathe too fast. Upstairs, 5 more children were still sleeping. George didn't hesitate. He turned back toward the house. By the time he reached the staircase, the fire had already claimed it. Flames climbed the steps like they had been waiting. The house groaned as the wood began to give in. There was no way out. George backed away, coughing, eyes burning, and ran outside again. He went straight for the ladder that had always been there. The ladder he had leaned against the house earlier that day. It wasn't there. Not fallen, not moved aside. Gone. George searched the yard, circling the house, calling out into the dark. Nothing. The fire grew louder behind him. With no other choice, George ran to his coal trucks. They were parked just a short distance away. Big, heavy, reliable. His plan was simple. Pull one of them close. Climb onto it. Break the upstairs window. George said it looked like part of a military incendiary device. Something meant to start fires. Not accidents. Witnesses came forward. One claimed to have seen children being driven away that night. Another said the children appeared at a diner the next morning, eating breakfast with adults who refused to let anyone speak to them. A hotel worker claimed the same thing. Then nothing. The trail went cold. George and Jenny refused to let it end there. They wrote letters. They hired investigators. They followed leads that went nowhere. They put up a billboard along the highway with their children's faces on it. A silent reminder that 5 children had vanished without leaving a body behind. George died, still believing his children were alive. Jenny wore black for the rest of her life. The billboard stayed up for decades. And the fire was never enough to explain what happened. Because some fires aren't meant to kill. They're meant to erase. And sometimes, what's missing is louder than what's left behind. Covina, California is a quiet, middle-class suburb. The kind of place where nothing ever makes the news. The kind of place where Christmas lights fill entire streets. On Christmas Eve, 2008, a large family gathered inside a home on Merced Avenue. Relatives filled the house. Adults talking in the living room. Children moving between rooms. Food still warm on the table. Outside, the night was calm. Just before midnight, there was a knock at the door. When someone opened it, they saw Santa Claus. A full red suit, a white beard, a gift wrapped neatly in paper. No one hesitated. Why would they? It was Christmas Eve, and Santa was at the door. The moment the door opened, the man inside the suit raised a gun. What followed happened so fast that survivors later said their memories felt fragmented, like flashes instead of moments. Gunfire echoed through the house. People screamed. Some tried to run. Others froze in shock. The man in the Santa suit was Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, a 45-year-old electrical engineer who had recently gone through a bitter divorce. Under the costume, he had hidden multiple semi-automatic handguns and ammunition. He fired indiscriminately. Then he did something even more horrifying. He activated a homemade flamethrower, igniting gasoline and fuel he had prepared ahead of time. The house began to burn. Smoke filled the rooms. Fire blocked exits. Some people were shot. Others were trapped by flames. Neighbors later said they thought they were hearing fireworks until screams cut through the night. Police arrived to find the house fully engulfed. Inside, 9 people were dead. Some had been killed by gunfire, others by smoke inhalation or burns. Bruce Pardo escaped. Hours later, police traced him to his brother's house. Inside, they found his body. He had taken his own life. Nearby was the Santa suit. Melted, burned. Investigators later discovered Pardo had spent months planning the attack. He had rigged his vehicle, prepared weapons, and chosen Christmas Eve intentionally, knowing the house would be full. For the surviving family members, Christmas never recovered. They later said the lights, the music, even the word Santa became unbearable. Because now, Christmas didn't mean joy. It meant remembering the sound of a door opening. And the moment everything changed. Dayton, Ohio, December 1992. The city was preparing for Christmas. Stores were busy. Families were traveling. Churches were holding late-night services. Then, on Christmas Eve, the first shooting occurred. There was no warning, no argument, no explanation. A person was shot and killed. Then another. Then another. Over the next 3 days, from December 24th through December 26th, a group of 4 young men drove through Dayton committing random acts of violence. They weren't targeting rivals. They weren't robbing homes. They were simply hunting. 6 people were murdered. 2 more survived with severe injuries. Some victims were walking. Some were sitting in cars. Some were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Police struggled to understand the motive. The randomness was what terrified people the most. Families canceled Christmas plans. Parents kept children away from windows. Entire neighborhoods went silent. Christmas morning came, but no one celebrated. Eventually, the group was caught. The leader was Marvelous Matthew Keene, later sentenced to death. The others received life sentences. But justice didn't restore what was lost. Parents buried children. Children grew up without parents. And Christmas, once a symbol of peace, became a reminder of fear. One relative later said, "Every December, we don't count down to Christmas. We count how many days until it's over." Christmas doesn't stop violence. It doesn't stop anger. It doesn't stop people who've already decided to hurt others. Sometimes, it only makes the contrast worse. Bright lights, warm music, and unspeakable acts happening behind closed doors. These stories aren't meant to ruin the holiday. They're meant to remind us that reality is often far more disturbing than fiction. If you have a true story you want to share, something that really happened, you can leave it in the comments or send it by email. And tonight, take a moment, lock the door, check the window, listen to the silence. Because the scariest stories are the ones that already happened. Good night. Links and reference for these stories are provided in the description of the video. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.